again, I am Jim Bob and welcome back to Marwell Manor. We've just sent our worker off on field 18 with the cultivator, and we're now going to run across to grab the 7R, break out the seeder and go and start seeding those fields of Southview Farms with grass. Let's get it fired up. There we go. And we'll get the shed opened up, get the lights on as well. There we go. Oh, turn the lights off. Never mind. There we go. Leave it on. Right. Let's get ourselves backed in and connected up. So we're going to be starting off with field number 8 first of all. Once we've worked on that field, we're going to go over to field 5, do those two. Then we'll take a quick break, see where we are. Probably have to come back and get some more seed. And then we'll work on fields 6 and 7. We'll also use that opportunity to check in on our worker on field 18 as well. See how he's getting on and what needs to be done. Actually, we'll leave the door open for when we need to put this thing away. Got a little bit of cash on me at the moment. We have got some more available if we absolutely need it, but we should be okay for now. Let's switch our seed type to grass. There we go. And that should be enough seed for now, I think, to keep us going. In fact, actually, just wait here for a second. There we go. An extra couple of 100 litres. So it's going to be interesting to see how we fare on the road with this. I'm going to see if we can make it through without any major issues. If we struggle, then we'll have to get in contact with the local landowners and get permission to cut through their fields again. Come out through the store. But I like to avoid doing that where I can. Use our own access roads. And this is going to be a tricky turn. Might have to go a little bit wide on this one. Just because of the length of the seeder. Yeah, we got through that one okay. The next issue is going to be actually turning onto the main road, because this, as I say, it's a long seeder. We're going to be jutting out at the front, and let's see if I can get through without causing a collision here, or getting Jim bobbed, as we as we discussed last time out. Mercifully, there's no traffic coming. Take that long sweeping turn. There we go. Managed to get through without causing any major issues. Whoop. What happened there? Maybe the back end of the seeder was just sticking out just a little bit. Let's hug the inside of the road here just to be on the safe side. I've got my beacons on as well, so I've got to say that that's the other driver's fault there, not paying attention. We're going to have to swing out wide, I think. Our access point's coming up just here. There it is. No gate to contend with, which is perhaps a blessing. get onto the field and take a look at this in terms of where we're going to start. We'll start over here, I think, in the far corner. This is probably going to be the easiest place for us to get started. It's a bit of an odd shape, isn't it? But then they're all kind of odd-shaped fields, really, on you know, here in Marwell. Push the seeder right back. There we go. We can turn our beacons off as well now. So let's get that lowered down. Just check we are on grass, aren't we? Yes, we are. And let's get started. Completing this job today is going to give us 50 grand, which is very, very nice indeed, and will allow us to purchase our bale extractor, which we can then go and transport. When we're ready to use it, we'll transport that down to the BGA, but we'll leave it stored on the farm for security purposes. We don't want to just leave that out there completely sort of unprotected, as it were. You just never know if something's going to get stolen or vandalised. keep it where we can keep it secured and locked up. We're also going to need to swap out our baler today as well, because it's all very well as saying we'll use the extractor to wrap grass bales, but the baler that we have at the moment will automatically wrap grass bales, so we don't have the ability to turn that feature off. It just happens. So we'll have to replace our baler for one that doesn't have a built-in wrapper at the back. You know, it'd be kind of nice, I suppose, now that we have this new DLC, if we perhaps got an update to the Kuhn baler with the IntelliWrap system. It'd be nice if we got an update to that where you could toggle the wrapper on and off, so you could choose whether or not, you know, you wanted bales to automatically wrap. That would be quite a nice little addition, I think. Whether we'll get that or not, I don't know, but you know, we can live in hope, can't we? But we're just going to be, for the sake of convenience, because that feature doesn't exist yet, and there's no word that it ever will. We're going to be swapping out our baler. We're going to go for the other small Kuhn round baler, which I think is available as a mod rather than in-game equipment. That's the baler that we're going to be using, because then we can still use that for our hay work and straw work if we need to, but we can also, more importantly, we can use that baler for doing our grass work, and it won't wrap our bales, which means we can then choose to wrap them with the extractor. We're just missing the edge of that field there, aren't we? Have to back up a little bit. There we go. Let's get that little bit there. Got it. So we'll have to do that trade in there. I mean, we shouldn't have to really pay anything for that. I think, if anything, we might get a couple of quid back. Literally only a few quid. You know, not much at all. Because our baler has gone through a full year of use, has been used quite a bit. A lot of bales been created from that. And so it's depreciated in value. And even a direct sort of trade will give us, you know, a good chunk of the money back. It won't get us, you know, anywhere near the full value of the baler, simply because of the number of hours that we've put on it already. But we should get enough back to be able to comfortably cover the cost of the smaller baler without the wrap system attached to it. At least I hope that's going to be the case anyway. Otherwise, we could potentially be in a little bit of trouble, because that's extra expense that we weren't accounting for. We're also going to need to lease a weeder as well, although we probably won't need that until day 5. So tomorrow. That's when we're likely to see our first kind of stage of growth, I think, of weeds. And then going forward beyond that, we will also need to find funds for a corn chaffer. Now that's not an emergency purchase. We don't need that immediately. And we'll be able to do some grass work hopefully on day 6, wrapping some bales and taking them to be stored at the silage plant at the BGA. We'll store them in our Eurotunnel and then get those sold off, and the money that we get from those will fund the purchase of our corn chaffer, which we won't need probably till towards the end of summer. So we've got plenty of time to worry about that. We are also potentially going to need to get ourselves a loading wagon as well, and again, no immediate need for that, but there will come a point where we will need to purchase one of those, or at the very least lease one, and I think purchasing is going to be a better option because it's going to get a lot of use. So leasing fees are going to start racking up very quickly on one of those. There is a small one available that's only, I think, around about 40 grand. It's not too expensive, as a 20,000 litre capacity, 23,000, something like that. It's the small Stroutman. It's not too bad. Ideally I'd like something bigger, but we just don't have it in the budget, I don't think, to drop 100 grand or so on a good sized loading wagon. So we'll have to make do with the budget option, and then maybe in the winter we can upgrade as well. And then also, don't forget, in the summer we will be looking to sell off our soybean as well. We're going to try leasing a bale trailer initially, just so we can get bales off the field and move them over to the BGA. But going forward, I would like to own one, and so our soybean is almost certainly going to be funding that purchase of our own bale trailer. Right, let's head back to the other side of the field. We've got the telegraph pole down there that needs to be dealt with. That's going to be a little bit trickier. Just going to slow my cruise control down a bit as well. Just to make it a little bit easier for us to manoeuvre at the end of each turn. And I think what I might do is I might straighten up the field on the next pass back. We just missed a spot there. Yes, we did. Just a thin bit, but we missed a little bit. There we go, that's tagged it. We'll just make sure we've got a little bit more of an overlap, I think, for safety's sake. There we go, and this is where we're going to look to start to straighten up the edge. There we go, and then when we get back, we'll get around this this post. We'll spin around on the way back. Make sure that we cover everything. Oh, I think we've got caught. Yeah, we have. We've got a little bit caught. Okay, let's have to push ourselves back a touch. There we go. And push our way off again. Make sure we get that little bit there that we missed. There we go. And we straighten up here with what's in front of us. It'll just make it a little bit easier, I think, to manage the field going forward. We're not paying for double seeding You know, it's only an issue with fertilising where you double fertilise without getting the benefit of a double fertilisation. But with seed, you know, you'll change the flow of the seed bed, but you don't double drop seed, so you don't pay any extra. So if we drive along here like this, you'll see that my seed count is not budging at all. And yet if we turn, we will change the direction of the seed bed with the seeder still down, but we're not dropping seed. So that's always a helpful little thing for us. Of course, with fertilizer, you will continue to drop fertilizer if you have it in a seeder that supports that. So even if you're not dropping seed going over something you've already planted, you will still drop fertilizer. That's something you have to be wary of, but I do appreciate the fact that we don't kind of get double charged or double dropped on the seed there. Of course, if you're planting with a direct drill seeder, you're still covered, you're still safe, unless you change your seed type. And in which case you will rip up whatever you've planted and put in your new seed type. But if you're going over something you've already planted with soybean, it's in the same growth stage, so like this, still in the planted stage, and then you go over it again with soybean on a direct drill seeder, again, you won't tear up what you've been dropping down. You won't change your seed count, but you will, you know, fertilise it again unnecessarily. So yeah, something to be wary of with your seeders. I'm sure most of you will already know that. There we go. We're looking to get done quite quickly with our seeding, I think, today. This field's not taking very long at all. We've been going for what, an hour on the field, and well, it's only going to be another couple of passes and then this one's done. Then hopping over the road we'll do field 5, and then depending on seed levels we might head back to the farm. We might push straight on to field 6, and then I think after field 6 we're almost certainly going to have to top our seed levels up. So field 5 is a fair bit bigger. 6 is a fairly small field, but 5 is quite a big field, and 7 is quite a big field as well, so I just don't think we'll have enough in the tank to cover all 3 of the remaining fields when we're done here. So I'll push on, I'll get this field done, and I'll catch up with you in just a moment. Okay, just this tiny little strip, and then we are done with the first of our 4 fields that needs to be seeded with grass. There we go. Right, so let's get the seeder folded up. Now we need to contend with getting ourselves across the road and in through the tighter entrance of the farm again without really causing any issues to traffic. And we're in a little bit of a tricky way to pull out here because it's quite blind with that hedge there. Beacons are on. I'm going to have to pull out and hope. There we go. Swing back across, and again we'll hug the white line just to pull the cedar inside a bit out of the way. And luckily we don't really have any real traffic issues. We have got something coming. I'm going to let that go through first, just to be on the safe side. I don't want it to potentially cause an issue as we try and swing the cedar in through the gate. Need to turn and then straighten up at the same time. There we go, we're through. So once again, we'll do a sort of a lap around the field, and then we'll start filling everything in. Make sure everything's nice and covered. I'm going to put my lights on as well for this border, just because of the shade of the trees, just so I can see what I'm doing and making sure I'm getting coverage across the edge of the field. And I think I might work widthways on this one. In the direction that we're going now, I think that might be the way I work across this field. Obviously, when we were cultivating, we kind of worked at the opposite angle, you know, on a 90-degree angle, so we were going that way up and down the field. But I think with this seeder, it might be easier for us to run across this way, or at least for the first half of the field anyway. We'll see how it goes when we get to the narrower bit. We're making pretty good time on the field so far. Busy, working away. In fact, am I actually missing a gap? I'm not. No. I thought for a moment I was missing a thin strip. I'm not. That's okay. I should really, I suppose, be using the ridge markers, but I've been trying to do it without them just while we're putting the grass down. I'll be using them on field 18 when we plant on 18, just to make things a little bit easier. But yeah, making good progress. It's what, 10:30. We are over halfway through this field. We've got the biggest chunk of it done. We've just got that sort of top section there to go, but all that down there is done. So it's all coming together quite nicely. We'll go on to the to do field 6 after this. We have got enough seed to definitely do field 6, and then after field 6 we'll probably head back to the farm, and we might have to throw a little bit of extra seed in there just to make sure that we can definitely get field 6 done. Sorry, field 7 done, because it is a fair bit bigger than field 6, about twice the size, I think. Plus we get the chance to check up on our work. Let's have a quick look at the mini map and see. He's actually making good progress. Look, he's about 3/4 of the way through the field by the look of it. So we'll just have some tidying up to do, and around the borders and the edges and the bits that he couldn't reach. Oh, I've had a horrible thought. Please tell me he hasn't cut through into my other crop. No, he hasn't. He's currently doing a reverse all the way up the field again. I am going to very quickly interject here. Just remembered a potential issue is that because there's only a fence through part of that separation between the fields there, and most of it's just a hedgerow, there is a tendency for the worker to just cut through the field beyond the hedge, this lower section here, to just go straight through the hedge and carry on the field below, depending on the bit of equipment he's using. Now, this is quite a wide working width at just a fraction under 8 meters, so there's a very real risk that he'll just go through and start cultivating up my wheat crop there, and that's the last thing I want, is him to start chewing up my freshly growing crop. So I'm going to manually put a border pass in along here to make sure that that doesn't happen. Create that kind of separation, so I can then leave him to do the rest of his thing without fear of him going rogue and cutting through the hedge onto my crop field. And we caught that just in time. That could have been a real issue. That could have been very bad indeed. And I don't like to just jump from what I'm working on to a worker like this, because it kind of breaks the flow a little bit. But this was an emergency situation. I didn't really have much of a choice. Had to do it, or else I would have risked disaster with my wheat crop there. So just widen that border out just a touch and try and round the edges off a little bit. Just here. This is the safe bit here with this fence, but just past here is where it gets to the danger zone, which is that bit just there. So I want to make sure that we've got a nice clean edge across here with a nice bit of width, so that there is no stray tractor rampaging across my crops. There we go. And of course that does mean I need to tidy up this a little bit as well. There we go. And there's no issue at the other end, as you can see, because we've got the tree line and then the field bends away either side of the fence, so no risk of cutting through there. It's this section here where the fence stops and the hedge takes over completely, because there are no collisions on the hedge. You know, he would have just cut through there. So glad we caught that just in time. I remember having issues with that on test files where I've just hired a worker and got off and come back, and he's decided either cultivating or planting on a different field against my wishes. There we go. Right, we can leave him be back where he's supposed to be. We can carry on with our grass seeding over here. So work has made a lot of progress, as you saw. That is going to save us a lot of time. He'll be done before we are at this rate, comfortably before we are. So we'll just need to go and tidy up those edges, those borders, the bits that he can't get to, and then that field will be ready for planting. We might even possibly be able to squeeze in that planting. Well, it's a little bit early, I suppose. It's technically out of season. Traditionally with seasons, it was day 5 on a 6-day season for corn and soybean, because they both needed 10-degree weather. So of course it depends on the geo that you're using, but for UK temperatures that would have been day 5. So we'll wait for tomorrow to get our planting started, but it will mean we'll have a clear afternoon, or clear chunk of the afternoon, for us to make sure that we get our new purchase up and running and in position, and maybe even do perhaps just a little bit of grass work. We'll see how we get on. We're getting to the end of this field here, field 5. Just a little bit left. I don't think we've got enough seed left though to actually be able to do field 6. I don't know if 1,000 litres is going to be enough. We might run out. So what I'm thinking of doing is heading back and topping up before we move on to field 6. I don't know. Well, I suppose we could just go straight on to 6, see how far we go. We might as well just do that, I think. Yeah, we'll see how far we can go. When we run out, and we head back. Then we can top up. Because we're going to have to come back for field 7 anyway. So, yeah, let's do that instead. I don't know if we'll get all of field 6 done. I mean, it's, as I say, it is a smaller field, but even so, even though it's a smaller field, I just don't know if we've got it quite enough left in the tank to actually do all of it. But this one is done, so that's 2 of the 4 fields that we need to get planted with grass now completely covered. Field 6 won't take us very long at all, assuming we can actually do it in one sitting. And then it's field 7, so we're going to be done mid-afternoon, I think, by probably about 3, maybe 4 o'clock, if we keep going at the pace that we have been going at. Of course, any lengthy breaks in that, like going for seed, it's going to slow us down a fair bit, but we'll see how we get on. It's very tight around here. This is not necessarily the best seeder for a yard this size. This yard is tiny. Look how tight some of these turns are in terms of where everything is spaced. Be really careful squeezing through here. There we go. And again, we have telegraph poles too to contend with on this field. So we'll have to pay attention to that. Right, off we go with field 6. Not much of this field left, but not much seed left in the tank either. Just 300 litres. I think it's going to be enough to get this field done, but it's certainly not going to be enough to move on to field 7. So we are going to have to head back to the farm and top up after we've done here. No real surprise there. And the telegraph poles have been slightly awkward because they're quite tight radius. The little grass border around them is a little bit smaller on this field than I think on field 15, so they've been a little bit more fiddly, but you know, making sure you get them done, important, I think, you know, making sure that we get that full coverage. So I see looking like 235 litres. Yeah, we'll just have enough, I think. Yeah, we'll definitely have enough seed to get this done, but not a lot left. And then, looking at the time, it's what, 12:30, coming up on 1:45. So it's probably going to take us about probably about 3 hours to do the other field. So we're looking probably around about sort of, in terms of getting back to the farm, getting refilled, coming back here to do field 7 and then doing field 7, we're probably looking somewhere between 4 and 4:30, maybe 5 o'clock by the time we're done, which will leave us enough time to get to the store, pick up the extractor, and then tomorrow we'll be seeding again, making sure to do that corn section and also our soybean section. But we are going to have to make sure that we get our cultivating finished off today. We're going to have to take over from the worker to do those bits that he's obviously not going to be able to do. I haven't seen a message pop up yet, unless I've just not spotted it, to say that he's finished. Yeah, he's finished. Given where he is, I think I'm not quite sure what he's done there. We'll check that when we get back to the farm. So we got 141 litres left, just 2%. But we are done now on field 6. So that's 5, 6 and 8 done. Just field 7 remaining. Let's squeeze our way back out of here. It's tight, isn't it? It's very tight, but we can get through. Anything bigger than this, and I think we'd really struggle. There's no way we'd get something like a seed hawk unit through here. I think the width of it, even folded up, would just be too wide. Nothing coming. Nothing coming. But a tight turn here, a very tight turn indeed. Steering just kicking out a little bit there, but we're through. So, back to the farm we go. Back negotiating these really tight yard turns here, where we're getting through. Let's get the gate open. Again, I'm hoping the width of the seeder is going to make pretty light work of a good chunk of this field. We're going to need to close the gate just to make sure we can get the full coverage at this end. And I think we're going to go clockwise around this field. It's going to be a little bit easier, I think, for us to work that way. There we go, we're off and running. So because of the way this field is shaped, it's quite a long field, but there's sections of the field that are quite narrow. And I think having this wide seeder will really work to our advantage in those circumstances, in those situations. Especially if we work like this. If I hire a worker for a second just to run a straight line up here, and then we fill that corner section in, is that going to be a bit? No, that's probably not going to be the best way to work. Let's scrub that idea before we get too invested in it. I think working on a sort of a more traditional sort of across axis will work better. So we'll get this border in and then we'll work that way. I think that's going to be a faster way for us to work the field. I want to try and get this done as quickly as possible so that we've got as much time to this afternoon to get on with collecting our extractor, getting that stored back at the farm until we need it in a couple of days' time, and getting that cultivating finished. The problem we had with the worker was that the custom edge that I put in to stop him from going into the neighbouring field was a little bit too sharp, so he just wasn't picking up on that, and as such was kind of just sitting there, stopped, and gone home. So we've got another worker on the case, and hopefully he will actually get the rest of that finished for us now. I just went in and I took a little bit of the edge off and made it a little bit of a shallower angle to encourage the worker to find the edge of the crop when it gets to that pass by the hedgerow. So touch wood, that'll all be sorted and we won't have to worry about that anymore, which means there'll be very little cleaning up for us to do once we're done here. If we left it as is, then would have been a good couple of hours worth of cultivating to do on the field. So we want to limit just how long it's going to take us to do that tidying up, because by the time I think we'll get round to that, it's going to be probably gone 6 o'clock. So it's going to be starting to get dark. It's going to start getting trickier to see. And I want to try and get everything done before we lose the light tonight. I want to try and be done by 7:30 at the latest, if at all possible. So, yeah, fingers crossed. But for now, I'm going to crack on with running my border around field 7. And then, as I say, we'll work across that width, or that axis of the field, once our border is in place. Well, I said I wanted to be done by 4 o'clock. It's just gone 3:20, and that's all that's left. So we're going to be done definitely before 4 o'clock, which is good. Hopefully it'll be about 4 o'clock by the time we get this back to the farm, which gives us plenty of time to get our payment wired over and head over to the store and pick up our extractor. Really looking forward to using that. I thought maybe if things went well today, we might possibly have a little bit of chance to get some mowing done today, even if it was just a couple of bales, but we don't really have the time. So unfortunately, that's going to have to wait another day, which is now going to be kind of relegated to day 6, unless we get our planting done nice and early tomorrow, which is a possibility. In the past it's taken us, 12 hours or so to seed. I think maybe 12 hours to seed field. How many hours did it take, actually? It took me 12 plus hours to plough it. It took me about 15 hours to plough it. And I'm trying to remember how, I think it was about, 9-10 hours to seed it last year. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. We're going to be looking at half of that, I would imagine. So maybe 5-6 hours or so to plant the field tomorrow. So theoretically, depending on what time we start, we might actually be able to spend the afternoon doing some grass work. We do need to get that baler switch sorted out as well. That's something else we need to sort out. Hopefully we can get that done today, but that might have to wait until tomorrow. Just going to be careful I don't hit that tree there. Getting a little bit too close to it for comfort. There we go. And normally I like to have quite nice sort of seed bed, nice neat seed beds with a clean border around the edge. But it doesn't really matter, I suppose, on this field because it's grass. We're never going to see the seed bed again once this grass starts growing. So it's not an issue. It's not like when we're cultivating a field or when we're harvesting a field and we see the seed bed underneath, and you can see how rough and unkempt it looks in places. It doesn't really matter on this. We're just putting grass down. It's just going to keep growing and growing. Once it gets cut, it'll just grow straight back, so it doesn't really matter. As I say, we'll never see the seed bed again. So the neat freak in me, when it comes to my planting, isn't going to be at all offended by the kind of mess of seed bed patterns that we've got on this field. And there we go. This field is done, and we got finished at 3:30. That's pretty good. That's pretty good indeed. So we'll get this back to the farm. We'll get it cleaned, put away, and actually we'll probably stick it in the maintenance shed so we can get it tuned up, ready for tomorrow. And then we'll get our payment wired over for completion of the work on these 4 fields, and take our freshly earned money straight to the bank, straight to the shop. It'll barely sit in the bank long enough to register before we are back off and spending that money, or at least most of the money on that bale stacker and a new baler. I'm hopeful that the round baler that we want is actually going to be available to us in the store for immediate collection. I did call ahead yesterday and say that we were going to need one. It's just hopefully that it will have arrived today. We'll have to see when we get there, I suppose. Right, beacons on. Let's try and squeeze our way out of here again. Like a wide arc. Ooh, that's close. Just a little clip there where we kind of got away without doing any real damage. And this again is going to be a tricky, very, very tricky exit. Clear. Something coming. So we'll have to wait. Don't want to Jim Bob the cedar. I'm going to find myself in a really bad habit of just saying that now all the time. Dear oh dear. And I can't even get out the gate now. I'm already Jim Bobbing the cedar. There we go. Make that wide turn. Oh, that's tough. But there we go. Right. Got to be careful as well. I don't clip it on this signpost on the side here, so I'll have to drift inside a little bit. There we go. Drift back wide again. Same again with this road sign. This one especially, it sticks out a little bit closer to the road. And this is where it's going to get really, really tight and tricky on this turn in. Making sure that we're avoiding oncoming traffic. Not hitting anything. Again, that truck clipping us, even though we're all the way over. This truck's a menaces. Right. Take a wide start. Turn in sharply and then straighten out really quickly. And there we go, we're through. So, we'll make our way back to the yard. And I'll see you in a minute. All right, there we go. You can see our debt's still 550,000, but we now have that extra 50 grand thanks to completion of our contract. So you can see that those fields are now planted with grass. If we scroll down and turn the grass filter on, there you go, all done. So that'll obviously just grow in over time. This is how much remaining work needs to be done on the field. Not too bad, we can do that ourselves. But it's time for us to head over to the store so that we can go and collect a couple of bits of equipment. We're going to take our baler with us as well. We've been I made a phone call and I've been told that our baler is ready and waiting for us. So we'll part exchange our current baler for a smaller baler without the wrap system on the back of it. And then we'll also have to make a second trip back to collect our new extractor as well. We'll pay for those once we get there. So we'll get this taken over to the store and I will see you in just a moment. Well, there we go. We have got a very healthy £56,613 for our baler, which is handy because the cost of the replacement baler, brand new, albeit a little bit smaller, was exactly £56,000. So we actually came out with £613 in our pocket out of that as well. And there you can see just behind it is our new Anderson Group extractor. There we go. Specifically, I'll show you which one it is. It is this one, the FS19. This one is specifically just for round bales, costs 30 grand, and is 15 slots. This one here, slightly more expensive, but the hybrid can do square bales as well. It's only 11 slots, so I was tempted to go for that one, but I want to keep the money aside because we do need to lease a bale trailer, and this is the one I want to lease here, the RBM Pro. That's the one that I want. I may actually just lease this one this year, and then when we come to buy one, actually buy a Pro. Leasing costs are 3,700 on that one. Oh yeah, 25. Yeah, so I think we'll lease the RBM 2000. Because we can't afford to buy either of those. They're both a bit too expensive. But we'll lease the RBM 2000 and then we'll lease the Pro. We'll buy the Pro when we have the money for that later in the year. So let's get these back to the yard. We'll get them stashed away. It's going to be a couple of days before we actually get these in action, unless we're lucky enough to be able to get some mowing done tomorrow. In which case, brilliant. If not, it'll be day 6. When we get this done. And then we'll have to jump onto our 6R and finish that cultivating off. Got to make sure that gets done tonight because tomorrow we have to get our corn and our soybean planted. So I'm going to get these back to the farm and I'll see you as we're finishing off that cultivating. So here we are then, just back onto the 6R now, just finishing off this last little bit of cultivating. It shouldn't take us too long. Our cultivator is pretty good, 8 meters. With a 6R pulling it, we should be done pretty quickly. It shouldn't take us more than sort of an hour and a half, I think, maybe 2 hours at a push to get this last little bit done. Obviously there's this side, there's still the other side over there as well, and a few little spots that we'll need to tidy up, but the vast majority of this field is now clear. That's the great thing about having that worker do it for us. While we've been busy earning some cash and being able to purchase that new equipment, we've been getting on with stuff here at the farm at the same time, so always a bonus. There are a few little spots just around the edge here, so I'm just going to quickly tag those before we get the rest of the field. There you can see bits where the worker has just missed little spots. There's a few little dots like that just around this this little sort of bend here. There's one in front of us which we can't see but is actually there as well. We can just about see where it should be. It's about here. There we go. That should clear it. So let's just double check that we have definitely cleared it. It was there. It shouldn't be there anymore. Yeah, there we go. We've got it. So just this bit here, then we can go along, clean off the bottom edge, and then just run up and down that side bit, and then we're done for the night. Our cedar has been repaired. It's been tucked up in the maintenance shed for the last hour or so, being just fine-tuned and tinkered with after a hard day's seeding. Got to make sure that that's in top working order for tomorrow. That's done, so we're going to have to retrieve that and get that put back into the shed overnight, protect it from the weather and the elements and all that good stuff. But yeah, it's all coming together quite nicely. The birds just swooping in and immediately skedaddling as they see a tractor with a big cultivator lumbering towards them. Yeah, I can't say I blame them on that one. There we go. So this is the section here where our corn is going to be. We'll have a few widths of corn, going across here in terms of, I think 2, maybe possibly 3 passes with the cedar. I think more likely sort of 2 passes with the cedar, and then we'll have a little gap running around the edge, sort of between, around the edge of the field down there, along that sort of fence row, and also a gap between the 2 crops, and then we'll put our soybean in to cover the rest of the field, and that way we'll have a nice big cash crop, and we'll also have a little bit of stuff to chaff as well, so we can get our pit at the BGA started, and we'll be kind of splitting some of the grass work that we do between going forward. Once we've got that first set of bales done, we'll be splitting our remaining grass for the rest of the year between the BGA bunker and the bunker here at the farm, so we have loose material for silage for TMR next year as well. Right, that's this whole section here cleaned out. There we go. Just got the bottom bit to do, and then it's a nice easy couple of passes along the far edge there to get the field done. So I'll see you when we're just about finished. So very close to getting finished, and it's taken even less time than I thought it was. I was expecting to be done hopefully by around 7 o'clock. You can see it's almost 6:15, and for all intents and purposes we are done. We've just got this tiny little triangle here to do. Oops. Wouldn't you know it? It's straight down the middle. That's like getting a spare in bowling, isn't it? Right. Never mind. Oh, not a spare, sorry, a 10-8 split. Or was it the 10-7 split? You know what I mean, where you get the two, it might even be, was it a 10-6 split? I forget the actual terminology now, but when you get one pin stuck at either side of the lane, it takes some pretty special bowling to get the spare from those. You've got to hit it just right. It's easier for us. We can just back up and have another run. But there we go. We are essentially done. That is it. The end of another successful and profitable day on the farm. We've got this field prepped ready for our seed tomorrow. We've completed the contract on fields 5, 6, 7 and 8. Those are all planted now, and we've been paid for that. And out of that money, we've been able to purchase ourselves a replacement baler, which we need so that we can use our brand new extractor. Looking forward to actually getting that into action very, very soon in the next couple of days. And we still have enough money left over for us to be able to lease the weeder, which I have a feeling we're probably going to need in the next day or two. We've got some crops that are already growing, so I wouldn't be at all surprised to see some weeds poking through on our fields tomorrow. So we'll get everything done, get our planting done tomorrow. Cedar, I need to retrieve that. You can probably just see it there poking away, poking its head out of the maintenance shed. We need to get that sort of put away as well. The rest of the equipment needs to be cleaned and washed and put away as well. And then it's off to bed for well, I say off to bed, off to put my feet up in front of the telly with a cup of tea and then have an early-ish night, because again, we're going to be up reasonably early tomorrow, probably a 7 o'clock start, I think. So that's it from me. Thanks for watching. I'm Jim Bob, and I'll be back with some more Marwell Manor very soon.